Hi Anne, Heather here. Sorry it took so long for me to get this to you. I was sick, I had a cat allergy, traveling from Utah to Illinois, going from a dry climate to a wet climate. My immune system just went down and I had, for the first time in a very long time, a cold flu that knocked me out and I was in the bed, literally not even able to focus or concentrate on anything. So I'm recovering, I'm getting better, still dealing a bit with a cat allergy, but things are looking up. So thank you so much for your video submission. It was a beautiful performance and thank you for sharing that with me. The intonation overall was exceptional. I'm going to talk a little bit about rhythm. As far as your posture, it looks really good. Left hand looks great. The bow arm, I'm going to talk about a little bit about string crossings because we can improve some things that are going on in the bow arm mechanics for that. What we'll discuss is actually just the rhythm and working with the metronome. So it's called fiocco allegro, and allegro on the metronome is about 120, which is pretty fast for this piece. I would suggest probably around 104. I would suggest working with the metronome from beginning to end at 104, or maybe a little bit under if you wish, to help with the timing. The places that got off a little bit were when we had tied over notes. Okay, so let's look here at 24. You know, just to make sure that's exactly with the metronome. So I'll turn the metronome on. And this is at 104 and measure 24 after the 8th rest. Okay, so those tied over notes are the ones that are getting behind. And a little secret you can use whenever you have a tied over note, a quarter note tied to 16th or whatever it is, to for a split second just actually stop the bow to have a bit of a rest to help with that timing. So there's just a little bit of breath before going to the next note. That's just an overall general tip. Okay, so that's it basically for the rhythm and the metronome, just to work it out with the metronome and then isolate whatever spots need work once you realize that. I would vibrate every single 8th note, and some of the 8th notes you had beautiful vibrato and some you didn't, so I would go and make sure that just for consistency that every 8th note has vibrato on it. I love your bowing choice at 35. Here we have you did a hook, and then the G ended up on an up, and then the down, which is really great. Excellent bowing choice. Take advantage of that bowing though. So what I mean by that is after that G, to feel a lift before going to the next note. Okay, so after that G, to lift and land. So here's 34. Okay, just to give a feeling of lift after the G. That's the only thing. And arrival on the C. Okay, so that applies for both times at the ending as well. Now let's talk about the string crossings, and this is a wonderful example here. What we have going on again at 34. You can play these string crossings as double stops. And it's actually very good for the intonation as well, for your left hand. The reason why we want to play them as double stops is then you can work on those string crossings without using too much bow, because that's what I saw actually, is you're just using too much bow in your string crossings in general. And we need to really eliminate that, minimize that motion. So even playing slow, you can feel like you're playing on the inside of the strings. So in this case, on the inside of the E string, on the inside of the A string. That's why double stops are so great, because you're right there and it's just a matter of going back and forth from that spot, okay? It's not like we have to, you know, have this big angle. We want to minimize this angle here to a very small angle. And that will help with the tone actually, and to make it seamless and effortless for the bow arm. So what I would suggest is to go through and find throughout the 16th notes whenever you can play double stops, and this will actually help even with the musicality. So if we go to 43, the end of 43 is a good example of this. You can play the last 2 notes as a double stop, and 44, and go on, okay? and then play it as written, you know, without too much motion. Okay, so I'm going to play that again so you can see my right hand. See how it's just really tiny. It's not stemming from the elbow at all. It's really from the wrist. So it's just from the wrist. Very small motion. And you could even eventually think even with the fingers to have those string crossings occur when they're really super fast. But in this case, it's just wrist. So if I slowed it down, okay, if I play this slowly, here's our D, or the A string, but it's a D on the A string, and then up, down, up. And you can even experiment with that just by using your fingers without using your arm at all. So that will help with minimizing that motion on the string crossings. And also with your string crossings, you want to know where they all occur. So I would suggest doing a string crossing study with the intent of exploring where all the string crossings are, where they occur, and to know what bow direction you're going on what string on the new string crossing. So what I mean by that, so here at the end, here at 79, the E, when we go to the D string for E, it's an up bow, just to be aware of that. After that, it continues on the same string, but another example here, let's go to 41, we can go back to 41 again. So up bow on the A string here, and it's all depending on your bowing choices, okay? So, but just go through and find your where your weaknesses are with the string crossings, know where the string crossings occur, play double stops on those string crossings will be great exercise for the left hand, and then work on minimizing that motion with your bow arm, that you don't work so hard and actually just isolate it and do fingers. Really beautiful performance, Anne. Nicely done. Very, very calm and relaxed, and I look forward to your next submission. Ciao.